This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
Hello, and welcome to The Best Worst, a celebration of the best and the worst of the television we love.
I'm Meg Bashwinner.
I'm Joseph Fink.
And we love TV. We love it so much. So we created this show to explore what we all love about popular TV shows by watching both the IMDb viewer best rated and worst rated episodes of a quintessential series.
Joseph talking about why? Why? Well, we are interested in how TV got to be here and then where TV could go next. TV's at a real weird moment, and there's a real feeling that TV in the next 10 years is not going to be anything like TV in the last 10 years.
Where the change is happening. People are starting to buy spec scripts now. People are starting to rebudget.
They're doing pilot seasons again. Like, they're gradually relearning the entire business they built and then destroyed.
Yeah. So here we are. Today's show is
Lost.
Lost,
which ran for 6 seasons from 2004 to 2010 with 121 episodes. Lost. I was very into Lost.
Part of your identity when I met you was how into Lost you were.
I don't remember that, but I believe you.
Because I had not watched Lost. It was not one of my things. And then until we met and you were like, you got to watch Lost. It was very much a you got to watch Lost situation. And so you got the Netflix DVDs for me to watch with you. And then I never got fully caught up in time for it to end.
No, you got to maybe the 3rd or 4th season and then you gave up.
Yeah. I understand why I gave up. It's because I don't like this show.
Yeah. I don't like this show now too. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but I was into Lost from the beginning. I was there almost from the start. I think I didn't watch the first season live. I think I watched the first season on DVD, which is kind of the better way to watch it because it is such a propulsive serialized show. But after that, I watched it live every week, and I was a believer that they had a landing in mind, that they knew where they were going with things, and that they were setting up stuff that they knew how to pay off, because they did a very good job for a very long time of maintaining that illusion. They would pay off enough stuff and have things click together just enough that you're yeah, they know what they're doing. They know where this is going. The enjoyment of the show depends entirely on that belief. If you don't believe that they know what they're doing, it's not a good show. It only works if you can kind of play the game of they know where they're going and let's try to figure it out.
I think that they were able to make some really cool episodes.
Yeah.
That do not hinge on anything paying off, but just telling a cool story in an interesting way.
Yes.
Which I think was I supposed to be what this show was when it was created, they were kind of all supposed to be a little bit one-offy and just like of a next generation sort of vibe. But then I think that something got lost in the sauce there, and it became a very much no, we are driving where all the pieces matter. We are driving towards a epic payoff conclusion.
I don't know if it got lost. That is why it got popular. It would not have been popular as a series of one-offs about people on an island. It got popular because it was kind of 24 was before it, I believe, and 24 was the first big serialized network show. But Lost was the one that created the whole thing of internet message boards trying to solve the mysteries before the show did. A lot of what we think of modern TV fandom, I feel started with Lost, and it wouldn't have been as big without that.
Yeah. And those online forums, the fires are still burning out there. Because I just in researching for this episode, I was okay, wow, people are still actively daily commenting on episodes of the show and of characters and all sorts of stuff on these message boards. There's like a thriving Lostopedia. The show has not been on the air for 20 years.
20? Is that true?
No.
It ended in 2008. Almost 18 years.
Yes, but it came out
That's depressing.
20 years ago. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a show that a lot of people remember the last episode as being very bad. And I don't actually think the last episode is very bad. I disagree with people on that. I think as an episode of television, the last episode is actually pretty good. It's exciting. It has some nice emotional beats. The final image is really good. Like, they found a final image that genuinely is very good. The issue is just that it turned out they had no idea what they were doing, and that became apparent in the last episode, that there were no answers. Or there were answers, but they ran into the issue that anything supernatural is going to run into, which is there's no way to explain the supernatural without the supernatural. And so unless you can build a really consistent like logic to the supernatural, the explanation is always just going to end up being some magic shit happened. And that's the explanation in Lost, just ended up being some magic shit happened. There was like some magic people and they did some magic stuff. And that's why the island is the way it is. And that's just not an interesting solution to anything.
Yes, but we're not talking about the last episode.
No.
We're talking about the worst episode, which was season 3, episode 9, Stranger in a Strange Land.
This is a show where going in, before I looked it up, I knew what the worst and the best were going to be. Just because they have such clear legacies. Everyone hated this one.
I'm going to let you summarize it because you're much more familiar with all of the many, many characters of this show.
Well, so that's the issue. Is there's a lot of characters in this show. Almost none of them are in this episode. Hurley, not in this episode. Locke, not in this episode. Charlie, not dead yet, so not in this episode. Like, no one that you liked is in this episode. It is Jack by himself and then Kate and Sawyer being annoying somewhere else. And that is it. Those are the three characters who were unequivocally the 3 worst characters to watch are the only ones in this. It basically, this is the one where it became apparent they were running out of mysteries to set up. And so Matthew Fox, the actor, had a Chinese, I think it's in Chinese, tattoo on his arm. And they were like, we'll do an episode where the mystery is, why does he have a Chinese tattoo on his arm? Which is, the answer is, guys like that always have Chinese tattoos on their arm. It's just a classic guy like that thing to do.
Yeah, it was this episode was the sound of the shovel hitting the rock, right? Like,
yeah. Also, notably, even though I'm fairly confident the tattoo is in Chinese, they move it to Thailand for no reason. I guess because Thailand was a little easier to fake in Hawaii.
Yeah. This was the episode, I think, where the network was like, okay, guys, like, let us know when you want to end the show.
Yes, I think this is the one where, because the network was really like, it's such a gold mine. We want you to go forever. And I do think this is the episode that convinced the network, okay, if we try to do that, the popularity is going to collapse. Yeah. We need to let them tell a story.
There's nothing left to mine here. So, yeah, full disclosure, I did fall asleep during this episode.
You've been falling asleep during every episode?
Our daughter gets into our bed, and mostly when I say our bed, I mean my side of the bed, and just kicks me for most of the night. So I haven't had like an uninterrupted night of sleep in a good long while. So when I lay down, it just happens, especially when the show's kind of boring. So this episode, what I can remember of it was the stuff that I like really took offense to was like, it's a flashback to when Jack goes to Thailand, and it's like, I guess on vacation or finding himself or something. And he's like trying to build a kite on a beach, as you do. But for some reason, the spinal surgeon cannot figure out how to assemble a 2-piece kite. And a lady comes up to him to kind of like flirt with him and help him. And then they develop a relationship. But then he finds out that she's some sort of like mystical tattoo artist that like she sees you. And then when she sees you, she tattoos you. And he's like, do it to me. And she's like, no, you're not in this culture. Like, it would be wrong and there will be consequences. And then he just like beats her up until she does it. And then he goes to the beach after he gets the tattoo and then gets beaten up by locals. And that's what happens there.
Yes. And we find out that the tattoo says something
here, but not from here.
It's like among them, but not one of them. It's so completely uninteresting and never comes up again. The present day plot is also, it's hard to get a sense of how bad the present day plot is without understanding the episodes around it, which is, this is episode 9 of season 3. And from the first episode of season 3, Jack has been sitting in a cage He gets captured by the others at the end of season 2. And he has now been sitting in a cage for 9 episodes where we've been focusing on him sitting in a cage. And all of us watching Lost were so fucking tired of watching Jack sit in a cage and argue with the others. And this was just like yet another episode in which he sat in a cage and argued with the others. So that was the other thing, is just the plot of Jack being captive in a cage. They had no idea what to do with it, and nothing interesting happened. And it had been going on for 9 episodes at this point. Pretty quickly after this, I think once the network let them set an endpoint, they got Jack out of that cage and things started happening again.
Yeah. We were all in that cage.
Yeah. There's like a part where he's just like watching baseball. I vaguely remember an episode that's just like about him watching baseball sitting in the cage. And it was a real like, guys, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Why do we think this one is the worst?
That was why we thought it was the worst one. That's why. Those were all the reasons why. The show very rarely passes the Bechdel test. And all of the 3 episodes we watched, it never happened. The show pretty rarely has like a bit of racial diversity in its casting. However, they like the way that characters of color are used are sometimes kind of really offensive. For example, this mystical Thai lady.
Yeah, I will say that even for the era, the cast was actually pretty progressively cast. There is an Iraqi soldier, although not played by an Iraqi, I'm pretty confident. So there's some problems there. You have 2 Korean characters who mostly only speak subtitled Korean. You have Hurley, who is, I believe, Cuban, I want to say that actor is. Like, it's a fairly diverse cast, but they use almost none of those people. And again, none of these people are in this episode. They insist on keeping to push Jack, Sawyer, and Kate, the 3 just unequivocally least interesting characters in the show, to the front, because they were the 3 that looked most like the leads in a TV show.
And the acting's not good.
No, none of them. Well, I think Sawyer is fine.
I think Sawyer's okay.
He's not given much to do.
Kate also not given much to do. She's kind of the like stand there and look pretty.
Yeah, and Sawyer's job is just to kind of do one-liners and call her Freckles. Like, he's just given very little. Jack is asked to do a lot, and he is a terrible actor.
Yeah, there's no nuance in the performance there.
Yeah, it's just a lot of shouting.
A lot of shouting.
He's deeply uncharismatic. For, like, the guy who's supposed to anchor the show, like, the opening and closing shots of the show are Jack. And he just has no charisma at all. He is not magnetic even a little bit.
And yet, this was an incredibly popular show. This was sort of like, this became like ABC's tentpole show. ABC was sort of on the brink of like rife with mediocrity, really did not have the numbers. The head of ABC at the time, Lloyd Braun, was on vacation in Hawaii, and Castaway had come out recently. It came out in 2000. He was in Hawaii during 2003, and this was when Survivor was getting really popular. And so he like pitched his idea for a sort of Castaway Lord of the Flies-y show, and he pitched it to a gathering of the executives, and they were like, "This is fucking dumb. We shouldn't do this." But one of the guys was like, "Okay, let's get a pilot. Let's get a pilot script." So they order a pilot script. And the pilot script they don't think is good.
They get it from the Aaron Spelling's company.
Yeah, they get it from Aaron Spelling's company. And then
one of the things that the executive gets mad about is he was really set on the title Lost, and the Spelling company guy retitled it Nowhere.
Yeah,
and so I think that's one of the things he got really pissy about.
And so the guy who wrote the script, Jeffrey Lieber, pitched it as Nowhere, which did get approved, but Braun wanted a rewrite, so he contacted J.J. Abrams, who had written Alias, and he was very impressed with his work on Alias. So he brought in J.J. Abrams, who came in and like sort of brought it to where it was going. And then they also brought in Damon Lindelof,
who was not a particularly well-known writer at the time. He was like a staff writer on stuff.
Yeah, because Abrams was like, what if there was a little bit of a supernatural angle to it? And they sent him Lindelof. And they, then onward they go with it.
J.J. Abrams left almost instantly because
he went to go do Mission Impossible.
He was hired to do Mission Impossible, and then they brought in Carlton Cuse, who was just a real guy who knew how to make TV.
He had worked with Lindelof on Nash Bridges.
Yeah.
So they had known each other there. But he
was just mainly brought in to be like guy who knows how to get TV show made.
But Lloyd Braun gets fired from ABC for for this because for greenlighting the show because the pilot was so expensive to film.
The pilot cost $13 million, which nowadays, like regular episodes of a TV show cost $13 million. But at the time, that was like unprecedented.
Yeah, it was quite a lot of money. They were on location in Oahu. And
there's like a plane crash. There's
2-part pilot. There's a ton of CGI. Anyway, so he gets fired from ABC for that. He also greenlit a bunch of other shows that were like made ABC insanely popular. ABC was like in like completely mired in mediocrity. It did not have ratings. Like it was not leading anywhere. And then like this guy greenlights Lost, Grey's Anatomy, Desperate Housewives, like just all of these.
Boston Legal was him. The Bachelor.
The Bachelor, like all of these shows that like put ABC back on the map. He got fired for Lost.
It is amazing that the story of Lost is really a show becoming a huge hit despite the network desperately trying to kill it. The network did not want to make the show. The network hated this show. And yet, completely despite themselves, this show became the biggest TV show of the decade.
Yeah, it won for its first season, it won the Emmy for Outstanding Series. So just like right away was instantly critically received. It had its best ratings in the first 3 seasons. 18 million people were tuning in to watch this show, watching it. Like this is before streaming. It was before anyone could be like, oh, I'm home from work now. Let me just pop Lost on. No, it was like, it's 9 p.m. I have to watch Lost. 18 million people in America were doing that, which nowadays it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is very rare that you get a show that, in my opinion, changes how TV is made. I Love Lucy is a good example of kind of inventing how sitcoms are made today with reruns and syndication and just the way it was shot. And Lost is one of those. I think TV after Lost is deeply affected by the choices Lost made. The idea of serialized television, the idea of kind of big budget prestige television that isn't at HBO, that like just regular shows could be big budget prestige and serialized. The whole idea of like different episodes focusing on different characters. You see that everywhere now. Like Lost changed how TV was made.
It also came at a time when people started talking about media differently with the internet. So there's been message boards on the internet since the internet existed, but Lost is one of those like was a water cooler show, except it wasn't the water cooler. The water cooler was the internet. The water cooler was Reddit. The water cooler was like Metacritic.
I think this was before Reddit.
This is before Reddit. So so wherever we were all gathering.
Live Journal. AIM.
Yeah. We were, there was a conversation that was happening about this show.
I probably discussed it on the Something Awful forums at the
time.
time.
You did. You also like people who like if you were into Lost and you found another person who was into Lost, you would just like sit down at a bar and just talk for like an hour about the last episode. Like, what do you think this means and this and that, and like pulling it all together. And
that goes back to the really successful illusion they created that they knew where it was going, because if they know where it's going, then you can start trying to put those pieces together. And again, like this show simply does not work once you know that they don't know where they're going, because then none of those pieces are interesting. None of them are actually leading to anything.
I remember you went to the series finale party and they had like Dharma Initiative beers.
Where did you come with me?
I did not come with you. Okay. I think I had rehearsal
It was at not Largo, Bell House, right? I want to say I went to one at Bell House.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny. Both of us kind of missed the Game of Thrones bandwagon. So this is the last like big cultural television moment I was part of, because we've also missed the Stranger Things wagon, so we've missed kind of the big wagon since. So this is the last one I was fully on board with.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that the tattoo scene at the end of this episode is maybe the worst thing we've seen in doing this podcast so far. I think as a scene it is maybe just like the worst put together scene we've seen.
And then of course the best thing we've ever seen on the show is Mr. Ed's in the park home run at Dodger Stadium.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. Although I will say the editing of Lost is great. Like we will get to the best episode and we'll talk about the flashbacks and flash forwards and how that's done. Like it's seamless and it's really gorgeous. But
I mean, Lost had so many good ideas and so many clever things. Like the way that they played with flashbacks, starting out as flashbacks, and then spoilers if you haven't watched a 20-year-old show and we're planning to, there's a season where they start introducing flash forwards, except at first you don't know. It's flash forwards to after they were rescued, but you don't know that at first. And then there's the big reveal that this is happening after they were rescued. And then in the final season, flash sideways to like an alternate universe where the plane didn't crash and they got to go on with their lives, which turns out to be the afterlife, which led to a lot of people who didn't watch the show are like, oh, that means they were dead the whole time. Technically, it doesn't. Everything on the island they were alive for, and that was actually happening. It's just all the like flash sideways in the last season are to the afterlife where they get to live the lives they would have lived if the plane didn't crash. I think all that stuff is good. I think that's all really clever writing.
Yeah.
There was a lot of clever writing.
There's a lot of clever writing. It's not like, doesn't become TV history for nothing.
No, I still stand by it. It's true we did not rewatch it, so maybe I wouldn't stand by it again. But Walkabout, the first Locke episode, I think is an incredible episode of television. I think the way it's put together, the way it reveals what's happening, so smart, so cleverly written. I think that stands the test of time, in my opinion, having not rewatched it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now we're in the controversy section, right? We do that in the
there's
first
so
episode.
much. I mean, I will say that Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse wrote the best episode if we want to talk about them there.
Okay. Yeah. We can talk about the controversy there.
Let us briefly, before we get to the controversies, talk about who wrote this episode. This episode was written by two people, Christina M. Kim. Interestingly, this episode that involves Jack beating up a woman, written by two women. Written by Christina M. Kim, who got her start in the Lost writing room. She worked with them for 3 seasons, bounced up between a few different shows, and then created the CW reboot of Kung Fu, the David Carradine 70s TV show. That show, her reboot was greenlit in November of 2019. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine how the production of the first season went. Can you imagine you finally, after, God, when did she get into business? 16 years. After 16 years, you get your own show, and it's in November of 2019. It's fine. She got 3 seasons of that, so it turned out okay for her. It was also written by Elizabeth Sarnoff, who she went to the Tisch School of Arts, got a BFA in drama. She got her start in Hollywood doing a few different jobs. She's credited as the production secretary on a 1996 Michelle Pfeiffer, George Clooney romantic comedy.
One Fine Day,
I think. Maybe.
Yeah.
And then she was on a couple movies, the assistant to Ms. Pokorny, and then assistant to Ms. McLaughlin. And then finally she got her start writing in TV. She eventually wrote for a ton of stuff. She wrote for Deadwood, Lost. She most recently was writing for Barry. She also wrote a romantic comedy called Chasing Poppy about a guy whose 3 girlfriends in 3 different states all visit him in LA at the same time. It has 4.8 stars on IMDb. Does not look good. This episode was directed by Paris Barkley. He got his start as a music video director. Then he directed a Wayne's Brother movie. Then he got into TV directing. He directed a ton of stuff, NYPD Blue, ER, The West Wing. He's still very active as a TV director, and he also very much wrote his own Wikipedia page. It is so long, and there's all the tells. I'm going to give you the 2 tells for if you decide to write your own Wikipedia page, what to avoid so you don't get caught. One is putting in details that no one else would care about. It's a lot of like, in college, he took some classes in this, but then ultimately decided on this major. No one who isn't you would put that in because that is not interesting to anyone else. The other thing is there's a lot of like compliments, which Wikipedia doesn't do. Wikipedia is like generally written in an objective way. So when it's like his masterful career showed a great skill in a number of different talents, we know that either you wrote it or you hired a PR person to write it, Paris Barkley. All right, let's get to the controversies.
Controversy. All right.
Some of them, at least. We'll get to the writer's room ones later.
That's basically the...
Well, no, because there's Matthew Fox and Evangeline Lilly.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about Evangeline Lilly. So Evangeline Lilly, during COVID-19 lockdown, she's like, I'm not locking down. Freedom is more important than my life. Or I guess the lives of others. And then she also was very anti-COVID vax, saying that like no one should force you to have this injected. And I want to be just abundantly clear that no one ever was forced to get a COVID vaccine.
No, that did not happen.
No one was ever forced to get a COVID vaccine. There was just, conditions upon how we live in a society after that.
Also, almost everyone wanted it because COVID was scary.
Yeah, because we didn't want to die. But again, no one was ever, not a single person ever was forced to get a COVID vaccine. People made the decision to get a COVID vaccine when things were like, you aren't allowed to go to a restaurant without a COVID vaccine, but that's not being forced.
Yeah, that just, you're not being allowed to endanger other people.
Yeah.
Does she do anything else or just the anti-vax stuff?
It pretty much just seems, I mean, I didn't dive too deep, but it just seemed like she was a little.
I mean, it's giving RFK voter.
Yeah, she's mahaing, but she recently had a bad injury and it has has brain damage from a traumatic brain injury. So Matthew Fox
who played Jack.
Just apparently was involved in an altercation with a bus driver.
He punched a female bus driver in the face is what it seems to have happened.
Ultimately, he did not face any consequences for that. The actor who played Charlie,
Dominic Monaghan,
went on to say that Matthew Fox beats women all the time.
Yeah, he tweeted, Matthew Fox hits women, not an isolated incident, all the time.
So,
and Matthew Fox vehemently denied this, but notably did not sue Dominic Monaghan because I don't think he would have liked what came up in Discovery.
Yeah. So there's that. I mean, he seemed very comfortable hitting that woman on the actress in this episode. So
yeah, notably Matthew Fox has done very little work since Lost. Part of that is he says he took a break from acting, although given that he got almost no roles after Lost, it might have not been 100%. He might have just been like, okay, I'm just going to save myself the humiliation and self-impose a break. After starring in the most popular show of the 2000s, he was getting like bit parts in movies was all he was getting. He like played soldier number 3 in something. We can talk about the writer's room now. This is a relatively recent controversy because it came out in the book. Is it called Burn It All Down?
It's called Burn It Down, Power, Complicity, and a Call for Change in Hollywood, written by Maureen Ryan.
Yeah, which was about, not 100% about Lost, it was just about kind of the shitty culture of Hollywood in general, but it had a chapter specifically about how shitty the culture of Lost was.
Yeah, it cited claims made by cast member Harold Perrineau regarding racism and 2 of the writers on the show detailing an alleged toxic and racist environment that was fostered by Lindelof and Hughes.
Yeah, that there's a point. Harold Perrineau. I mean, if you've seen Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, you know that guy can act. That guy is a charismatic performer, and they gave him almost nothing to do. And when he came to them with some concerns about that, Damon Lindelof said, although he later denied saying this, but he said, quote, he called me racist, so I fired his ass.
Yes. And then, Lindelof has responded to this. He said, I have no recollection of saying those specific things, and that's not me saying that they didn't happen. I'm just saying that it's literally baffling my brain that they did happen and I bore witness to them or that I said them. To think that they came out of my mouth or the mouths of people that I still consider friends is just not computing.
There's also a number of writers of color who are in the writer's room who talked about a pretty toxic and racist atmosphere in the writer's room. For instance, there is a black character who's Mr. Is it Echo? EKO? I actually, it's been a long time since I've seen this show. Anyway, they wanted to kill his character because the actor wanted to quit, which is a notable thing when all of your actors of color want to quit. And Carlton Cuse was really stuck on the idea that they should hang him from a tree with his dick in his mouth. I guess because Carlton Cuse was mad that the actor was quitting. And I think black woman that had been hired to write that episode was like, you understand that that's lynching imagery, right? And he threw a big fit. I think there was a lot of like writers of color being like, hey, this might be racist, and then being yelled at for it.
Yeah. Lindelof said, my level of fundamental inexperience as a manager and a boss, my role as someone who is supposed to model a climate of creative danger and risk-taking, but provide safety and comfort inside of the creative process, I failed in that endeavor.
It is worth mentioning here that, yes, Damon Lindelof has at least said the right things. He's also made interesting television since. Watchmen, I think, for instance, was an interesting show. Carlton Cuse completely stonewalled all of this, denied it all, refused to talk about it, and has also pretty much made your bog standard like medical dramas and stuff since. So at least Damon Lindelof appears to be trying in some form, even if it's half-assed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the excuse of like, it was supposed to be creatively dangerous. Like, we were supposed to be like, we could show lynching imagery, but like, because we're just being creative. Like,
yeah,
fuck off.
And it also, like, it shows in the show, like, as we were talking about, the characters that are interesting to watch are almost universally the non-white characters, and they are sidelined constantly in favor of incredibly boring white people. I mean, Harold Perrineau's, I have such trouble saying that last name for some reason.
Because it's French.
And because I have an undiagnosed stutter. His character is just so badly handled. And I remember at the time watching it being like, what is going on with this character? Because he has a really interesting plot, and then he just is completely sidelined and eventually just written off the show. And so it was to the detriment of the show, all this stuff, like creatively. If his excuse is he wanted to make it creatively dangerous, it's not just that this hurt the people working on the show, it's that it made a shittier show because it kept sidelining the most interesting characters. Remember, folks, racism isn't just bad morally, it also makes you make shitty art. Let's leave it in the dustbin of history where it belongs, and let us get to our intermission, which is... How is that theme song? This doesn't have a theme song, really. How is that sound?
I don't like what this did to television.
Yeah, this is another thing that Lost did that kind of changed TV. And I remember what a big deal it was at the time. People talked a lot about this, is Lost does not have an opening credit sequence. Lost has literally J.J. Abrams in iMovie made a clip art 3D word of Lost that goes at the camera at an angle. And then also, I think... he plays keyboard, so he made a little weird keyboard sound. And that is it. It's a 5-second thing. The S in Lost visibly glitches during this because, again, it was just a little iMovie render that didn't render properly, and they never bothered to fix it the entire time. I found a story on Reddit of a Comic-Con panel where someone asked about that, and they gaslit them and was like, the S doesn't glitch, your TV is just bad. And then they showed a preview for the next season that included that title thing, and the S visibly glitched, and the entire room started laughing at them. Anyway, yeah, it started this precedent that we don't need opening credits, that you can just have a title card and move on. And I think that's bad. I think opening credit sequences are good for TV.
I give it a 0.
Yeah, I agree. I give this a 0, both in execution, which is bad, and then in precedent, which was bad. Fuck this theme. Let us get to the best episode of Lost, which, again, I knew was going to be the best going in, just because people... Spoiler, I am less into this episode than most people, but people loved this episode.
Best episode of season 4, episode 5, The Constant.
It's the Desmond and Penny one, everyone.
I'm going to let you recap because...
Okay. I had to do some looking up to remember some of this, because, again, so many of these plot lines just kind of petered out and never led to anything, and so I didn't remember them. A lot of season 3 and 4 is about this boat. This boat is coming. It belongs to this guy, Desmond's ex-girlfriend, Penny, who's this very wealthy woman in the UK, possibly Scottish, ? Desmond is Scottish. And then we find out it's not Penny's boat. And so then there's a question of who sent this boat and why. The point is they fly out to the boat to find out what it is. And in the process, by flying out of the island is in a weird little time bubble, and when you pass through that, if you don't do it exactly right, you can get unstuck in time. So Desmond gets unstuck in time, and he keeps flashing back to the period in his life immediately after he and Penny broke up. Specifically, he broke up with Penny, a thing that he deeply regrets doing. There's a scientist character played by the incredible character actor Jeremy Davies. You might also remember him as Dickie in Justified. He plays a scientist named Daniel Faraday in Lost. Really, really interesting performer. I'm seeing here that he played Charles Manson in a movie, which I absolutely could see for him. I think he would do a good job at that. He explains that he sends Desmond to find himself in Cambridge at the time, because he was looking into time travel back then. And after convincing the younger Daniel Faraday that he's not crazy, that he's not pranking him, that he really is unstuck in time, the younger Daniel Faraday is like, what you need is a constant. You need something that you deeply care about that exists both now and then in the future. And of course, he realizes that that is Penny, the woman he left behind. And so he goes and finds her in the present day, where she wants nothing to do with him because he just broke up with her. But he's like, I just need your phone number. I just need you. She changed her phone number to get away from him. He's like, I just need your phone number. I will not call you for 11 years. But 11 years from now, on exactly Christmas Eve, I will call you and I need you to pick up. And then at the end, He calls her on Christmas Eve 11 years later. She picks up. They have a really emotional conversation. It turns out that after he disappeared to the island, she has spent the last several years looking for him. And they have a really romantic moment about that. And then he becomes back into just the present day on the island. And then there's this weird little coda where Daniel Faraday writes in his journal that if he ever gets unstuck in time, Desmond will be his constant. I don't know if that was like an implying a romantic thing or what. It is never followed up on. I remember at the time people being like, what does that mean? Never, ever followed up on.
I think, you're sort of just dropping seeds and you're like, maybe we could pick it back up later. Who knows? Yeah. Let's just give me a ripcord somewhere.
So coming in without all of that background, what was your experience of this episode?
Again, I did fall asleep, and but no, I liked this episode. I thought this one kind of worked independently. It could almost work as a one-off. There was some stuff in it that the stuff that pulled me out of it was the stuff I didn't understand, where like everyone is on the island trying to like their needs, but the stuff that's happening in the helicopter and then on the boat and then in Scotland and in the UK, like that stuff is very one-off, and so that was entertaining to me there because I was able to just sort of come in and figure that out. I thought that the performance by the guy who plays Desmond, Henry Ian Cusick, was really good. I thought that worked. I thought he did a really good job flashing back and forward. And again, I also thought that the editing was really, really very, very smooth between those cuts where it's like those match on action cuts where he's doing something and the next thing he's like in the dirt doing push-ups in the mud. Like those are cool. So I thought that there was a good bit of craft that I enjoyed watching, acting craft and scene craft and editing. I don't know what craft we call that, the editing craft.
Editing, I think.
Editing.
I mean, there's definitely direction in there, like on the match on shots, getting those shots set up, but...
Oh, Henry Ian Cusick, his birthday's the day before mine. But I thought that his performance was really good. So that's my take on it. This is a boys show for boys.
I mean, I don't think the fan base was particularly any one gender.
This is a boys show for boys.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why this isn't the best, I think at the time I just wasn't that interested in it because I just wasn't that interested in Desmond. I think he's a good actor. I just never really warmed up to the character that much. I just never found him as a character that interesting. I think I wanted to know more about Locke. I wanted to know more about Jin and Sun, and I just wasn't that. I wanted to know more about my friends that had been there from the start, and Desmond was a relatively new character, and I just didn't care that much about him. Based entirely on memory, not having watched it since, I think the two episodes I would pick as best is either Walkabout or The Shape of Things to Come, which is like a very exciting action-packed episode in which there's like the smoke monster attacks people, and it's very exciting. I remember at the time, do you remember when people used to like recap and discuss every episode of a popular show? And that was like a huge business online.
Yeah, AV Club.
The AV Club, but a lot of people did. Alan Sepinwall, I might be getting his name wrong. He was the Rolling Stone TV critic. I am able to say words in English. He also did it. I remember at the time someone being like, during The Shape of Things to Come, being like, this is truly the shape of things to come. This is what the show is going to be like from now on. It was not. It was just a really good one-off episode. This episode has the thing that all of their episodes do, where the flashbacks, no matter where they're supposed to be in the world, are so clearly filmed in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. Cambridge is a university in Hawaii. It is so clear. It does not remotely look like England.
Yeah. No, they use Hawaii for Iraq. They use Hawaii for like very cold places. They use they're out there doing it. I respect.
Yeah. It's not a problem. It never bothered me. It's just was always a funny thing of like, okay, this is supposed to be New York City, and yet this is so clearly Honolulu. Yeah. They do a whole plot line for, I think, one specific emotional beat. So they have this whole thing where someone mysteriously on the boat has sabotaged the radio. But they have Saeed there who's good with electronics, so he rigs up a like little temporary radio, but he only has access to like a car battery, so it's not going to last long. And I think that entire plot is just there so that the call between Desmond and Penny has to be short. Because for emotional reasons, to kind of have it be a big moment, you need it to be short. And so I think they came up with this whole episode long, someone sabotaged our radio plot, just so that they could keep that final conversation short. I also just want to pitch, if anyone from TV World is listening.
Anyone who we haven't offended by saying that you were racist.
Yep. I do have a pitch I've had for a while for a Justified spinoff. It's called The Weed Queen of Harlan County. And it is, I'm forgetting the actress's name, but it is the teenage girl from season 2, the one whose father is killed, who is just kind of very tough and a very interesting actor. And then it is Dickie Bennett, Jeremy Davies, from season 2. It is the two of them having to work together to run the weed business in Harlan County. Justified has gone the other way, where they've just brought back the main character and put him in a different place. But I think my pitch is that Harlan County was the interesting thing. The Appalachian setting was the interesting thing. And so I think you put those two characters in charge of running the weed business in Harlan County. I think you have an interesting spinoff. Hit me up.
Okay. And how is that related to?
Jeremy Davies.
Oh, Jeremy Davies. Okay,
Jeremy Davies would be one of the stars.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. So this was written by Carlton Cuse and Damon Lindelof, you've been saying Lindelof. I think it's Lindelof.
Lindelof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started saying Lindelof too because I was just assumed I'd been saying it wrong all these years. But I'm pretty confident it's Lindelof. We've kind of talked through most of their whole deal.
He's from New Jersey. Represent.
Yeah, Damon Lindelof is from Inglewood, went to high school in Teaneck. He worked on Nash Bridges, which is where he met Carlton Cuse. He has since done a bunch of stuff. He wrote the Prometheus, the Alien spinoff. He wrote a Star Trek movie. He did the Watchmen TV show. He did most recently Miss Davis. He's got some stuff coming up. Carlton Cuse, meanwhile, he's worked in TV since the 80s. He was very much just guy who knew how TV was made. He's doing a Miami medical drama right now. Just noting here that Carlton Cuse had his Wikipedia page professionally scrubbed of any mention of the controversy. It's clearly written by a PR person, and there's absolutely no mention of the controversy. Damon Lindelof did not do that. His Wikipedia page appears to be organic and does talk about the controversy quite a bit. So good on you, Damon Lindelof, for not hiring someone to scrub your Wikipedia page. This episode was directed by Jack Bender, who is the son of a Los Angeles furrier. Jack Bender started out as an actor. He acted all through the 70s. He guest starred in Columbo, in The Bob Newhart Show, in All in the Family. And then in 1980, he directed an episode of Breaking Away, which was a failed TV adaptation of the movie that only lasted 9 episodes. But he never looked back. He did not act after that. He only directed, and he directed Beverly Hills 90210. He directed Ally McBeal. He directed Sopranos. He did 43 episodes of Lost, which is over a third of the episodes. He is still directing today at the age of 76. He has episodes he directed in 2025. He has multiple episodes coming up in 2026 he directed. He is doing it. He is married to a rabbi who is a rabbi at LA's only Jewish Renewal Synagogue, which is a relatively minor, what's the word I'm looking for, denomination of Judaism that honestly I don't understand 100%, but good on him and good on her. Congratulations to everyone. So what do you think of Lost, having watched it?
This is a boy show for boys. That was my take on it. Watching it again now, I was knowing that it all doesn't come together in a way. It feels like a grift. There's some cool swings I like about it. I often talk about how I think on location filming is a waste of money, but in this situation, I think the filming on Hawaii is really cool. So
I think it's less annoying than it would have been in that they built some sets in Hawaii and then worked on those outdoor sets. They
built a set in an abandoned Xerox factory that had been abandoned because there was a mass shooting there.
Oh my God.
That was a fun little piece of information. But yeah, so that's what I think of Lost now, is that I understand it being pivotal for TV of the time. I can't say that I would want to go back and watch any of it. I actually enjoyed the middleists better. That often happens. I did enjoy the best episode. I thought it was competent and well done, but I think I'd rather watch a different episode of television, if I'm honest. What do you think of the show that was so beloved?
I mean, I didn't enjoy watching it. I still have fond memories of it. Again, there's episodes that I really enjoyed at the time, and they're still good in my memory. and I probably won't revisit them, but because I don't know if they would hold up. But in my memory, the roller coaster experience of Lost was not like anything I'd ever encountered before. This show that just was constantly pulling the rug out under you, that you were constantly trying to figure out how everything fit together. There's still some solutions they gave that I just think are brilliant. The whole thing where the first season there's this mysterious hatch in the jungle, right? And they're trying to figure out how to get into the hatch. Locke especially, who kind of worships the island, wants to get into this hatch. And the big first season cliffhanger is they open up the hatch and the camera like retreats from them looking down deep into the darkness. And then that was the season cliffhanger. And then season 2 opens with Desmond living in like a 70s apartment with like, he like makes himself a smoothie. He's like working on an exercise bike. He's listening to some 70s song. Is it Make Your Own Kind of Music? I don't remember. And then there's a big boom, and it turns out it's them blowing up the hatch door, and it's Desmond living in his 70s apartment who is in the hatch. That is so good. In my opinion, that is a really, really good solution to what is in the hatch, is just a Scottish guy living in a 70s apartment. And they did stuff like that occasionally that I still, in memory, am like, that is just a brilliant piece of storytelling to zag in a way that absolutely no one would have ever guessed. Not a single fan online was guessing that it was a Scottish man living in a little apartment left over from the 70s. I want to say there was a similar reveal at the beginning of one of the seasons that was like kind of this like suburban neighborhood that seemed relatively normal. And the way they shot it, you assumed it was a flashback. And then they zoom out and you see that it's like this little suburban neighborhood just like buried deep in the present day island. Great stuff. I still think those are good. It didn't come together. And I think a lot of the experience of watching it with that in mind is pretty bad now. I think we both have answered the question of would we keep watching it.
I have no other thoughts.
What's our next show?
Our next show is The Golden Girls, a girl show for girls.
I have never seen The Golden Girls, so I definitely have heard its reputation. I'm excited about that. Sometimes that works out. Friends, for instance, I really enjoyed. Sometimes that doesn't work out. All in the Family, I hated, despite its very good reputation. So we'll see how that goes.
Thank you all so much for listening. Check out our Patreon-only show, The Middleist, where we'll be discussing the exact Middleist-rated episode to see what the show looks like when everything is exactly average. That episode was season 1, episode 9, Solitary, and it's good.
Yeah, it's early season 1 when the show was still really firing. It's got Locke in it. It's got Charlie in it. It's got Hurley in it. It still does not have Jen and Sun. We did not see Jen and Sun once in these 3 episodes.
When I say it's good, I mean that it is like there was the magic of the ensemble was there. Whereas for an episode called Solitary, that's interesting.
There's so much of the show, the good in it was that supporting cast. And I do think it struggled a bit. It struggled a bit with both the best and worst were very focused on one person. All right, let's end this by doing what we usually do, which is singing along with that famous theme song.
Lost.
I'm J.J. Abrams.
Saw him on a plane recently.
Yeah. How's he holding up?
He was working. I peeked over his shoulder.
Did I ever tell the story on this podcast about how I sat next to Gavin Newsom as he worked on the state budget?
You did not.
Well,
you sat next to Gavin Newsom on the flight from New York to Los Angeles once.
In like a twosie. It was like a smaller plane, so it was me and Gavin Newsom in one of those twofers in like deep economy, because politicians have to fly economy or people take pictures of them flying first class, except for I'm sure Gavin Newsom just mostly flies private, and we did not talk the entire time until he just was annotating the state budget. He had like a printout of the 1,000-page state budget and was just making notes on it. And as we landed, I said, "That looks like very tedious work." And he said, "You have no idea." And that was our entire conversation. All right, goodbye.
Bye.